Okay, so today we're going to take a look at a Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I've been taking a look at some of the movies that are available on streaming platforms at the moment while cinemas have been closed, and I've been meaning to watch this film for so long. I am a huge fan of Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. I actually bought a copy of this during the lockdowns last year, and somehow I misplaced the copy that I bought before I watched it. So being able to watch it on a streaming platform has been a little bit of a godsend at the moment. But I have to say I was disappointed. I have been a huge fan of Kevin Smith over the years. Chasing Amy's in my top 10 films of all time. I love Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, it just continues on this kind of unfunny films that Kevin Smith has been making recently. I do have to say this is a lot better than Clerks 2. And it's a lot better than some of the movies that he's been making recently, but it just doesn't hold up to the original Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. I do love the storyline that he brings into this, about where it's kind of making fun of reboots, and you've got Jay, played by Jason Mewes, and Silent Bob, played by Kevin Smith, kind of talking to people about reboots and what reboots mean, kind of thing, and those scenes kind of work, and I get the humor there. I thought that was kind of Kevin Smith back at his best in a sense, but this film just doesn't hold up. I think I wanted to see more of the characters from the original Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. This film, as Kevin Smith puts it in the film, this is kind of a reboot in the sense of what happens with reboots. It's basically the same storyline happening all over again. Jay and Silent Bob are going to Hollywood to try and stop another Blunt Man and Chronic film being made. This time, the film is being directed by Kevin Smith, so you've got that great kind of interplay in there about let's make fun of Kevin Smith's movies. And it's funny because he actually points out how bad his films have been from the last few years, which it's like, well, if you realize that, dude, then why aren't you doing something to try and make this film a little bit better? I kind of liked that you had Joey Lauren Adams make an appearance in there, but that's when the film kind of picked up. To me, this film really picked up once they got to the Blunt Man and Chronic convention. The Chris Hemsworth parts was funny. The Ben Affleck scenes are the most memorable in this. I think that Ben Affleck does a great job with this. And it's funny that it almost feels like Kevin Smith's screenplay gives the funniest lines to everybody but him and Jason Mewes, which seems really weird when you're watching the film. Look, if you are a fan of the original Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, you're going to want to watch this just to have that little bit of a revisit with those characters, but don't expect anything ultra special. It is great to see Jay and Silent Bob back, but this film really only picks up when it gets to the convention, and most of the scenes that you're going to end up remembering from this film contain Ben Affleck. So, yeah, look, the storyline of Jay having a daughter, it kind of works. It does. I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't work. It kind of does work, and yeah, like there's so much they could have done with that. I think that's the bit that's so frustrating with it. You could have done so much with some of the characters that appear in here, and they just don't. And I don't get why they don't do more with it. You've got a pretty decent cast that they've been able to put together for this film, but for some reason it just doesn't seem to have that comedy that the original film had or anything like that. So yeah, it's just so confusing what has happened with Kevin Smith's films over the past few years, and why it's got to the point where he can even recognize in his films that his last few films haven't been great, but he hasn't really done anything to fix it up. And like I said, there's bits in here that do work, like having Jay have a daughter and stuff like that, I have to admit, I found it interesting. It was believable. It worked. There was a great performance there in the role, but yeah, I mean, Harley Quinn Smith does a great job playing Jay's daughter, but the rest of the film around her just doesn't work. So I'm afraid if you are a huge fan of the first Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, you are going to be a little bit disappointed with this one. But having said that, it is better than some of the stuff that Kevin Smith's been making recently. I'm going to give this one 3 out of 5.